Hello, dear friends of art. Today we want to look a little bit to artworks of our Belgian artist Arne Quinze. Arne Quinze is one of the artists of the younger generation of my group of artists I work with, and we want to watch a little bit his works that we have here. So in the back side you see the work Natural Chaos. Of the first few, the people think, oh, it's maybe a little strange that Dorothea shows something so full of color and so full of movement, but indeed it's something which is very much constructed, and that's what I appreciate. So let's look a little bit together with the piece. We have here some natural pieces like the woods, the shells and so on. So natural chaos-like. We have a circle on the back side. We have more or less a square on which everything is mounted. The square has some little holes, but these are cut in. And there are some movements in front. We see here the significant red of Arne Quinze, which is quite known. We see the yellow of the sun. We see the green of the nature, of the plants, and some movement. But it's not chaotic, it's constructed, it's a grid that is formed. So this is the interesting thing, that Arne, even if sometimes his sculptures or reliefs or whatever objects you call it, they are constructed. Arne is always with it. So in the fabrics, when it's made, in the big factories, he's always with it. He gives the instructions how to do it, how to form it, or if it's only in the small size of 2.5 by 3 meter, which is a small piece for Arne, everything is decided by him and everything is formed. And this is the interesting thing. The first thing, or what I appreciate on Arne Quinze's work, is that he thinks in big scales, that he forms the art for the people. He has this idea that cities should be like open-air museums. So everywhere in the cities should be art, so that people have the chance to look at the art, not entering a gallery, being afraid, oh, I have to buy, not paying entrance fees for museums, but have the chance to be with art everywhere. And so one of his first very huge things was Ukraine. It was created for the Burning Man Festival in Nevada in 2006 or something like this, and it's interesting because this is a big a festival. Many people comes, and in the book you see also the scale of the people, how huge the work is, and later it was burned and disappeared. But it was the start of big installations with wood. And later he did the wood, he colored it red in the significant red of Arne Quinze. That's why, you know, we are publishers, so we always have a nice catalog with it. The red of Arne became significant for his work, maybe like IKB, International Klein Blue, for the works of Yves Klein. And then he made a big installation in public space, in Brussels, in Munich, in Rouen. There it was a bridge, for example. He covered a bridge with his wood constructions. And when I asked Arne and said, yeah, how does it function from the statics, and if there's snow, wind, whatever? And he said, no, it's very well calculated, it functions, and it don't disappear, it don't destroy. And I said, maybe it's difficult or dangerous for kids. They will climb it and say, no, the construction, which looks a little bit like trees, it only starts after 6 meters, so nobody will climb. And so I was very fascinated of the big installations of him he did in China, in a park which is not temporary but will stay there. And so I started to work with him about more than 10 years ago. I invited him to take part in my Venetian show for the 30 years of the gallery in 2009. And sometimes when I want to learn about one artist, I invite him first in group shows, and then if I'm more interested, I want to learn more about it, I invite him to a one-man show. And so 3 years later, in 2012, when there was the architecture in Venice, I invited him to a one-man show, and it was really beautiful show. Very, very beautiful works there. And in the same year, he did something also very interested in Beaufort. There was an outdoor exhibition. He presented his rock strangers. These were sculptures made from metal, because wood in public space seems to be temporary, because it can be destroyed to wind and weather and time. But he created new sculptures made from metal, painted in this significant red, and placed on the coast. And it was very nice to see. There could be water coming, there could be high tide, low tide differences, and there were people walking around, and there were like rocks, much bigger than the people around, but they were called strangers. So like if people arriving, if people entering your country, coming from nowhere, from somewhere, and if you think that 3 years later we have these big coming from immigrants from different countries to Europe, it's a sign that artists maybe have the sense of something that is coming, some sort of seismographic reception of it's not a knowledge, it's a feeling of something that might be in the air. And these rock strangers, they could be a sign for it, that people coming, entering a new country with nothing, and they have to be adapted, they have to be included, and it's for me it's a wonderful sign for that. But not to speak a lot about things we don't have here. We want to speak about other sculptures, for example, the newer generation, which was followed by the rock strangers. We have in Venice the beautiful sulfur sculpture. It's a sculpture that is, let's say, the newer generation of works from Arne, and it's consisting of several parts put on top, and down we have the blue of the water of Venice. Up we have the yellow of the sun, il sole mio, you know, the sun after the storm, dopo la tempesta, and it's painted beautifully. It's very delicate, painted in the surface beside the sculptural dimension of this work. And here we in Germany, in the Cadoro, in the Giardino, in the garden of the Cadoro, we have Arroyo, and Arroyo is, let's say, the watcher of the Cadoro. He takes care that nobody harms the art which is in here, and it's beautifully placed in the garden. They're small sculptures, you know, Arne is thinking always in big dimensions, so it's only about 2 meters or 2.5 meters, but he is doing big sculptures like in Washington with 70 meters high and in big scales. And I hope next time we will have also a one-man show here in Cadoro with his new ideas, which I appreciate very much. And in Cadoro times, in Corona times, he did a marvelous thing. He painted a huge painting for a hospital to make the people which are anyhow ill and poor and and not happy, to give some happiness to them, which I found wonderful. So after this work, I want to show you another work that we have here. It's a almost traditional work, because this is a new one. The other one is from 2012, but this we look now in another space of Kadoro. Dear friends of art, now we have moved in another place of the Kadoro, and I want to show you another work of Arne Quinze. It's, as I said already, almost traditional work, and this is where we started to work together. This is from the time of our exhibition in, let's say, 2012, 13, 14, something like this. And it's quite significant for that time, because it's called Chaos Life, like our catalog. You remember? So, Chaos Life, that means the world, especially now, fall into chaos. So what to do when you fall into chaos? When nothing is like before? You have to think. You have to create new ideas. You have to create new ways. But something that's really clear, you have to think constructive, not destructive. So what do we have here? We have many, many thousands of little pieces of wood. Some of them are a little larger, some of them a little smaller. So when Arne is creating a work like this, he puts mostly, let's say, more or less, 2 and 2 together to little grids, to little modules, let's say. After, he puts these little modules to spaces that creates this world. So that means it's not only wood painted in the significant Arne Quinze red and throw into this space. No, it's mounted, it's constructed. Like in architecture, build a house, it's constructed. And this is the important thing, because when you went into a house, you need structures to come out. That's what we need nowadays. And the interesting thing is that he puts a mirror in the back, so the structure becomes even more profound, more three-dimensional as it is in reality, because it's double. And there's one additional interesting point, which I like very much. I mean, it's a traditional tondo. You always have portraits in tondos and the history of art. But in this tondo, you can enter yourself. So that means if you look at it, you see your mirror, and then you know it's you who decide your future. It's you create the structures to come out of the chaos. And I think this is a wonderful idea. I mean, what I tell to you, it's just what I feel. You might have completely different association, and you're right as well. So it's not that I know and I tell you, it's just some ideas of me. And before I finish, I want to introduce to you to another work, which is not here now on display, but which I can show you in the catalog. It's a bidonville work. And it has to do, oh, 1 second, now it's here. I show it to you. Bidonville is the idea of a village, of a specific village, South America, a village with not so rich people. But the construction there is the same. You have little wooden pieces mounted together, glued together. They build, let's say, house by house by house, a community. And the community makes strong. If the little houses would be somewhere here, bigger in the middle and larger in the outside. And also this is, for me, on one hand, a very abstractive, beautiful structure. It's an abstract work of art. But on the other side, You can have many, many ideas in association to that. And I'm happy if I can show you works that are so open, to open your mind, to open your ideas. And maybe you appreciate like me. I would like so. Thank you very much for listening.